welcome to my video. And today I introduce a very special person, Mr. Johnson Beach. He is a novelist, a scientist, and a poet, and a good teacher also. He want to tell you very special theory about space, and this theory is amazing and a revolutionary theory.
Good evening and welcome everybody. Let me introduce myself first. I am Johnson P.J. from Kerala, India. And my pen name is John Kolyav. I have published about 5 novels, not about 5 novels and 3 books of poetry. And I am here not to tell something about my books, but to explain a new space concept that I conceived when I was almost 28 years of age. I started the search when I was barely 9. And the theory, I think one of the strongest space concept ever appeared on the earth, because this has explanation to many riddles, like the problem of initial condition that puzzled Newton and many other philosophers. That means this theory explains not only the cause of gravitation, but explains why the planets are revolving around the sun, and that too almost in the same plane and in the same direction. And also why are they rotating? And what is the reason behind the coincidence of inertial mass and gravitational mass? The reason behind the relativistic effects, why electromagnetic waves propagate, and some paradoxes like Olbert's paradox and many such things. But fortunately or unfortunately, this is a biological theory, and I am a biology teacher. I don't have any profound knowledge in mathematics, physics and astronomy. I am not claiming this as a qualification, but that is the truth. I am teaching biology, but this biology is not dealing with genetics, cytology, embryology, ecology, evolution or such things, but this is dealing with life, the most mysterious thing in the universe that is well beyond quantum theory and relativity. And the meaning of life is not restricted within the cell, but the whole universe is coming under this. And that is why this theory explains life, but before explaining life, I have to deal with gravitation and all. Why? Because life, the answer to life is the answer to space, and hence I think this is the theory predicted by Einstein and Carl Sagan, or the beginning of the theory. I am not claiming as this is the theory, because a long way is to go ahead. Because a lot of mathematicians, astronomers and physicists should come together if this idea seems to be relevant. When I am saying if this idea is true, then someone might think, why don't you have confidence? Yes, there is alteration of confidence and misgiving until one breaks through to clarity and understanding, as Einstein himself put it. Why? Because the person who is coming with some tremendous idea that is challenging the existing notions will only know his situation. Einstein suffered that, might have suffered that. That's why he commented like this when he proposed time dilation and mass relativity and such concepts, I think. So this is just the beginning, like quantum theory or relativity began. A lot of efforts are again required, but I have my own equations developed with my humble mathematical ability and my abilities in solving chess problems like helpmate, selfmate and direct mate. With that, I could formulate a law of rotation. This, after getting my theory when I was young, I took about 6 years to develop the law of rotation. You can see in the background, but it is not clear. Okay, I will come to that. That means the law of rotation, that means it has a law for the rotation of planets. That means it says that, this theory says that the rotation of planets not came at random, but it is by a law that is still to be traced out. We will come to that. But before that, I have to explain a few other things like the cause of gravitation and all. So I think most of you must have heard, or some of you at least must have heard of two predictions of Einstein and Carl Sagan. Einstein, after challenging Niels Bohr, at last resorted in predicting the advent of another space theory, because Einstein said that quantum theory is, although imposing, not yet the real thing he felt. And that is why he predicted the advent of another space theory. And Carl Sagan, what did he say? He started his search when he was 11 years old, and by the end of his life also, towards the end of his life also, he couldn't get the answer to space, and therefore he predicted that the discovery of space will be one of the greatest discoveries of this century. Why did he predict so? Because he, by intuition, he who searched for space, knew that when someone discovers space, it will alter many fundamental ideas. If there is no change in the fundamental ideas, how can it be a great discovery? So here this theory has, and this is, as I told, coming from a biological part, not from any conventional corner, as someone might think it would come from CERN or such particle accelerators, or some scientist who is wearing tie, coat and belt, and that such persons only can say this type of theory, without forgetting that Einstein was from a patent office as a clerk. So, but that is not the thing by which I argue this theory might be true. But listen well, leaving aside the prejudices that I am requesting to my dear viewers, if there is anybody. I don't think this type of videos may not have any viewers. I am coming up with this video because my life is about to end, and if this is true, we can make anti-gravity in the near future or far future, and this will not be published by any editor or referees, because this is even challenging mind, especially in the case of coincidence of inertial mass and gravitational mass, and in the case of relativistic effects. So I wanted to leave this as a legacy for the generations to come to decide until the experimental proofs for this theory come up. So let us see one by one what is my argument based on this new space concept. This is challenging mind, means someone might wonder why. How can it challenge mind? Are you not telling out of your mind, or are you telling to mind? Yes, I am telling, of course, to minds, although this is a metaphysical theory, and I am not going to put any metaphysical obscurity here, just explain in pure mathematical term and in physics, and with philosophy and logic and reasoning only I am going to explain this. Actually I wanted to tell to souls, but as John Keats put it, not to the sensual ear, but more empty-eared, pipe to the spirit, ditties of no tongue. I can't tell this to souls, although I would like to. Sorry, but let us first start with the introduction. This is an introductory part. As I told, prejudice should be avoided maximum, and keep aside the present science for some time at least. About prejudice, when I am saying, I have to mention Galileo. He proposed the most revolutionary idea of spherical earth, but he himself was under prejudice when Kepler proposed the concept of elliptical orbit. At first he was reluctant to admit that, because for Romans circles were perfect those days. And another thing is that about de Broglie, I would like to mention de Broglie, because de Broglie, when submitted his thesis for doctorate, the committee was skeptical about the sanity of the paper. They thought that by the concept of matter wave, he is trying to make a fool of them. But luckily, that time Einstein was there, and they handed over Einstein this paper, and he said publish it, because he was so open-minded, because he was so great a person, so great a genius. That is why he recommended for accepting it, and that was accepted. And later, maybe after decades later only, this proof came for matter wave lambda is equal to h by mv. So I am saying is that be patient with the theory. Don't say, okay, we have this proof, that proof, every proof is there, but these proofs are, most of these proofs are working just like spring theory worked for Boyle's law. Boyle's law was well explained with the spring theory of particles. Particles were considered as springs, and Boyle's law was well explained for decades and centuries with the spring theory. But we know now what is the situation. So like that, before scoring this off, I would like to request you to give an impartial ear. As Lord Buddha or somebody is told, the one who believes all what he hears is as foolish as someone who does not hear what he does not believe, or something like that. So we have to hear with an open mind. Then only this will be coming. So in the next videos, I would like to explain first the coincidence of inertial mass and gravitational mass. This theory is not based on quantum theory or relativity. This is an entirely different point of view, because this is explaining life, at least philosophically, but some mathematics also are there. Okay, thank you for bearing with me. Thank you.